Yo, what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. I am Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange, your Babinka boy, your Adobro, your holla homie, leader of the Cine Gang. We up in here, and I have my fabulous co-hosts, my lady pals, the homies, the amazing aunties. What's up, Kat and Tina?
Yo, what's up? Hey.
Good. Happy to see y'all. Y'all's faces get me through this quarantine every day, man. I appreciate y'all so much. We are back at it again. We have another amazing guest. I'm sure y'all are familiar because we run that convention show world, which we miss so much, by the way. I don't know about y'all. I miss it. That's how we all linked up. And we got a great guest in the showrunner from All-Star Con, one of the showrunners. Shout out to the whole team over there. But one of the great guys over at All-Star Con is a good friend, Pinoy Kuya, but he's more of a Tito because he's older. I'm a clown on him because he's older than me. We got Tito, Michael McNutt. Let's bring him on. Air horn.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, Tito, Michael?
Man, you gonna stop calling me Tito?
I
got a question. Why does Patrick have like 47 nicknames, and then the ladies were like, "They're my aunties," and like
they're the amazing aunties.
You took all the names.
He actually adds more names every time, and we're keeping a count. So
he's just trying to find more food that he can incorporate into American language. That's all.
The John Lover, the cassava crew. I don't know.
The Dinaguan,
the Tocino Terminator. The Tocino Terminator.
Stop, man! You're making me hungry.
I know, right? Hey, brother, what's a pleasure to have you, Mom, man. Great to see you.
It's an honor.
Kick it off. Yo, how are you holding it down in these quarantine times, man? You know, it's been a minute since we've seen you. It's great to see you, because, a lot of people are affected and, kind of, just kicking back because it's been a depressing time. But how are you holding it down right now with everything?
As well as you can, man, as well as you can possibly hold it down. Thank God, my family's been fantastic. It's been a scary, crazy time. Like we actually went out one of our last vacations. We went down to Florida right when it started hitting, and people were kind of talking about it and whispering about it. We were like the only people on the plane with masks, just looking like,
wow.
My wife's already Filipino, so the Asian people with the mask always flips people out. But we all had the masks on, and now it's just been like people ask you how you're doing, and you're just like, like I forget it's been almost a year with living like this, and it's crazy. My kids are learning school a whole different way. Work is a whole different way. It's just, I just hope everyone out there is just doing their best to just, hopefully we get around it. But you got to educate some people, man, because where I'm at right now, I'm at an undisclosed location, but man, some of these stores when you walk in, and there ain't nobody wearing a mask, boy.
Yeah.
Makes you feel bad inside. Makes you feel like, we're never going to turn this corner.
Yeah.
But hey, we just hope and pray, man. That's all you can do. Hope and pray.
Definitely stay positive.
The ShoPowSho PSA, wear your mask, socially distance, please.
Please just try it. Just try it. I mean, I got glasses on, so when I wear it, it all gets fogged up. I get it. Yeah. But do it anyway. Do it anyway. Help out, Pete, man. We all gotta be in this together, man. We all together for all sorts of dumb stuff. Why can't we be together for this? So let's just do it, man. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about food. Let's talk about food and stuff.
But yeah, great message. But yeah, let's do it, people. Stay safe out there. So we're gonna get into it, Michael, man. We've talked quite a few times, you and I, but they've mainly been about events that we were, plotting, planning, and doing. So now we get to have fun, or at least I feel like I get to have fun because we get to dig into you, get to know all about your story, bro. And but before I do it, I'm gonna kick it off with Tina. She's the one that starts off all our conversations. Go ahead, Tina. Hit them up.
So where are you from? Where are your parents from? And where are you really, really from?
All right. Where I'm from, grew up Bailey's Crossroads, Virginia. Crossroads in the house, Falls Church area. Born in Okinawa, Japan. So I'm Filipino, half Filipino, the old fashioned way. Daddy was in the military. So my mom's from Bicol and my dad's from St. Louis. So that's pretty much it. So I grew up, I was born in Okinawa, being an Army brat, moved to the States immediately after that, kind of hung around for a minute, moved out to Germany, Bremerhaven, like pretty much the mid 70s into the late 70s. And then pretty much since 1980, I've been in the Northern Virginia area. So pretty much born and bred, except for a couple of years out overseas.
Got it. But I think what's the most notable fact, and you're our first on the show, our first half Black and half Filipino guest.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that interesting story, because we all know how, especially with this past year, beyond just COVID, just the fact that Black lives haven't mattered to a lot of people here in the US, which has been terrible. And that's why we're in the streets marching that Black lives matter. How was it growing up as a half Black, half Filipino?
Crazy. I was just talking with you guys in the prep, just saying, like, I think I've lived two lives. It's really different because, visually, maybe not so much now, but, when I was little, I had the big old J5 afro. My dad's a big, imposing 6 foot tall Black guy from St. Louis, so my mom's like 4'5'1", 4'11". So like, and when, my dad took the lead in a lot of things, like when I was younger, first day of school, he brought me in to do my paperwork. So visually to everyone around me and pretty much growing up, I was the Black kid, the funny thing is when I was young, didn't really, in Bremerhaven in Germany, and you might know this, being, military Army brats and stuff like that, like, you don't see race. Everyone is mixed. Everyone's interracial, or everyone just doesn't matter because we're all in like the same kind of collective. Like we're all, born, raised, and trapped. That's what a military brat stands for. Born, raised, and trapped. We're trapped in here. We're all together. So, like, I never noticed it. I never noticed my parents were different, which is a beautiful story. But that's reality when you're overseas on a military base with a whole bunch of other kids. We're all just kids, So it wasn't until, of course, you come to America, you start noticing and people start noticing the differences. And I'm like, oh, really? My parents aren't the same. I'm like, so that was interesting. So for the better part of my childhood, I was the Black kid, really, like elementary school, middle school, high school. Still the Black, really more adopting Black culture because it was a culture that accepted me more. Like there are Filipino kids in the neighborhood, but I never like sought them out and said, "Hey, are you Pinoy?" Like it wasn't like that Spider-Verse scene when like I get the tingles like, "Hey, you're like me." Like I never got that. Like I would get that from the other guys. I'd get that from my Black friends. Like, yeah, like we like rap, we like basketball, we like sneakers, but it was more also the American culture. Like I would dig American culture, and I was into American culture because, no fault of my mom's, but she was busy trying to get her citizenship. She was busy working, raising me and my sister, with the exception of serving us food. And we had tons of Filipino food. And from time to time, seeing some Filipino friends. And every quarter we get a call overseas from my, Lola and the family there. But there was really no understanding that, hey, half of you is not Black, half of you is something else. And it wasn't until college when a lot of people experiment or discover or evolve in a certain way. It's like that's when it started. It still wasn't really embraced and appreciated because at that point the fear is, will the culture accept me? Like now I'm starting to be more aware of stuff around me, and I'm like, well, maybe they won't accept me because I haven't been around, because I don't know Tagalog, because I'm looking at the food and saying, what's that? Like I eat it, but what is that? Like I'll eat it, but I'm like, what's it called? Oh, you don't know what it's called? Or everyone was already in their cliques. And I was like, well, I'm trying, but I'm freaked out and scared. So, I'm surprised when I say it, she doesn't run in the room, but all 1,000,000% thanks and praise goes to my wife, who's Filipino, Panay, but who really shoved the idea of like, hey, listen, you're going to learn about this culture at, 30, 30 years old. You're going to learn about this culture. You're going to learn about half of you, and I'm sure my mom appreciates that my sons, when they see their little niece, they're saying, hey, they're telling you, I'm your kuya. You know, like, I think they appreciate that my youngest calls my oldest kuya.
Oh.
You know, like, he even said the other day, he was like, you know, my oldest name, Eli. He was like, I don't think I've ever called him Eli. Like, I just call him kuya. Like, yeah. You know, like, so it's gone from, it's really a weird story, like born till 12th grade, pretty much black.
Wow.
After that, you start seeing this really weird evolution in my life of me, like, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm interracial. Hey, I'm biracial. Hey, I'm Filipino. Hey, you know, now I'm like, you know, the experiences I've had since I've met her like 20 years ago. I've played on Filipino basketball teams. I coached Filipino basketball teams. You know, like, we've gone to more Filipino events. I mean, you know, 1,000,000% more than I was when I was younger. Like, once again, no fault of my mom's. My mom was doing what she can do just to keep us going, you know, and keep the house and keep us strong. But now it's like, it's crazy. It's really a 180. And I greatly appreciate it, because at the age that I was in, I could really appreciate and take advantage of understanding the culture. You know, when you're 10, when you're 5, and your mom's trying to teach you Tagalog for the first time, I was actually in 2nd grade when she did. I had the chicken pox. I remember this. I was like early 2nd grade, had the chicken pox, and we're in Germany, and I'm sitting at home with her, and she just starts talking in Tagalog. And I was barely grasping English. Mm-hmm. So for some lady who at that point, I didn't know was a different race from my father, because I didn't know what race was, to start speaking to me in what I thought was tongues. I'm like, what in the blue hell are you saying to me, Mom? Like, did you fall down? Did you have a brain injury? What are you doing? And then she just like, you're not going to, I'm like, because she didn't communicate it to me. It's like, hey, by the way, you know, I'm Filipino. Your dad's black. Like, I didn't know what Philippines was. I was like, y'all just mommy and daddy. You know, I'm sorry. That's like, you know, the picture perfect Hallmark picture of it. But yeah, I know you guys are different. You both yell at me. I mean, like, what the hell? You know, so, but that's it. So that, I mean, where I'm from, what I am, you know, first black Filipino on the show. Yeah. But I hope the people who are in my same position, who felt like ashamed or whatever, like, kind of understand like what happened, you know, like, from my perspective, like, visually, black kid, you know, and it's like, and then finally, you know, some people would say, there's something going on in there. I'm like, yeah, my mom's Filipino.
People like, how old are you? Yeah. You know, where are you really from?
Yeah, so I mean, I even answer before they even say it. You know, they're like, yes, it's not.
Yeah, like
I really turn it up when I grow facial hair, but when I don't, like, they're like, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
that's kind of the basis behind the joke, where it's like, where are you from? No, where are your parents from?
Because that's the mixed kid question, right?
Yeah. I mean, my first line to my wife, I asked her if she was Filipino, and she, you know, the entire time she thought she thought it was a line, and I was like, no, I'm half Filipino. She's like, oh, I've heard that before. I'm like, no, like,
how to make adobo.
Yeah, I'm like, no, like, she was like, what's your favorite meal? I'm like, dinaguan. She's like, oh, you ain't bullshitting. Okay, that's some serious stuff.
That's the real shit.
Yeah, that's the real shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, second to that was like chicharon bulaklak. She's like, oh, you're real. You know, I was like, how black and Filipino can you be to not like chicharon bulaklak? It's literally fried chitlins. It's the same. Like, it's the meal that made me. If I don't eat that, I've disappointed 2 races.
Oh my God.
So I have to. I can't eat it no more because I'm getting older. But man, when I could, woo, some fried chitlins. Even my homeboys would love that.
I think that's really interesting, because, you know, when we were kind of talking about our backgrounds as mestizos, that, you know, we're all half white and half Filipino. And so there was a lot of like, we got really, I guess, really obvious and upfront othering, because I think we were in such close proximity to this like white ideal, or the white normal Americana. And I thought that was really like sweet that you didn't really see the difference. Your parents were such a cohesive unit that it didn't occur to you. That's really
like it's not only like what I saw at home, but like I said, I step outside, and some of my best friends in Germany when I was growing up, 1st, 2nd grade, they were probably mixed. Like I couldn't tell. Like I look back at the pictures, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what was going on there. You know, like, or, you know, just everyone was together. Like they saw my dad, everyone was around my dad, everyone was around my mom. They would all hang out, play poker, whatever. Like, I'm like, this is what this is living. This is humans, you know? So yeah, I never really had that, nor did I ever have the conflict when I did finally evolve to it. It's like, yeah, I'm half Black, half Filipino. They're like, oh, cool. Like everybody was cool with it. Like once I got to my 30s and met the friends through my wife, friends for life, you know, like Redskin games, travel, all sorts of things. It's like, that's my crew as much as, you know, my homeboys were my crew. So thankfully it didn't get to a point where, yeah, there was any kind of conflict. It was just a progressive. I had to take my time to properly appreciate, acknowledge, and represent fully.
That's so awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
That's such like a really interesting story, like Kat said, because it's so different from like our experiences as mixed kids. And then it's so cool that like that you married a Filipino woman and then was able to learn more about your culture in that way. Like it's kind of like a coming back to it, and that's super cute.
Yeah, my kids know and have been more involved in the culture than I ever have. You know, and it's not through you're going to learn this. Like, no, this is just, hey, you're Filipino, so you need to know this. You know, like we see the cat from UVA who's the point guard. We're like, hey, he's half Black, half Filipino. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, yeah. You know, like we're everywhere. You know, like, you know, if you're a professional wrestler, NBA player, politician, whatever, we're gonna point like, hey, that guy's Filipino. Yeah. You know, just so you know. You know, like they have shirts with Pacquiao. They have shirts with the Star. They have, my youngest has a huge flag on his room. He has an American flag and the Filipino flag on his wall. Giant, full-size flags. Just, it is what it is. Like there is no break, Filipino lesson time. No, it's like you're just living, and this is how you're going to live. So this is how you're going to be.
That's the goal, man.
Oh,
yeah, that's great.
I feel that, yo, definitely. Yeah, real talk. Ain't gonna lie, like, you know, much love, but when to everybody, but when there's like a half Black, half Filipino person out there, because, you know, my wife's Black and we have a half Black, half Filipino daughter. It's always awesome to see that. It's like, hey, that person's half Black Filipino. That's you, Madison. That's you. That's your makeup. Yeah. So you rejoice in that.
I had a buddy of mine, my homeboy from years back. He married a Filipino girl, and they had a son. And like even he did. Like when I would come over, he was like, yeah, you know, like he's you. He's like you. You know, like yeah, like. You kind of need that more so than ever, probably, that level of identity and representation to see, yes, that's someone, that's me somewhere, you know, like, yeah, I'm half Black, half Filipino. I'm late all the time. I try my best not to. I'm doubly late. You know, like this you guy, talk about some serious
here's something.
Yeah, from both sides.
You're surprised I even came on tonight.
You're wilding now.
I would have been on there tomorrow talking about when are we on? What happened? I told you I was on my way. You know,
all right, Tito Michael, you wilding now. You wilding.
You know, I got to fight against it. I got to fight hard. I got to wake up 3 hours before everyone else just to be on time.
It's crazy. So with that being said, though, since you predominantly identified as Black up until college, were there any incidents? Did you experience racism at all prior to college before you know? Or and even in college, but like when you just predominantly identified as Black, did you know with that perception, you know, by others?
Oh yeah.
Were there ever any incidents? Do you ever can you recall any incident?
Yeah,
that
I mean, if
happened,
it comes down to, I mean, if there's no part white in you, then you're other, and if you're other, then you're a victim invisible to attacks. You know, like, you know, not so much because I had such a protective core around me when I was younger. I mean, my neighborhood was beautiful. I mean, it was so many different races, and we just had so much fun. You know, Bailey's Crossroads, Fairfax County, Fair Falls Church, Virginia, actually is so interesting. When you pull back and you look down, you got where I lived, Barcroft View Terrace, which was mostly multiracial. You know, everybody. It's a mix. In fact, Bailey's Elementary School, which is right down the street, is actually like the world record holder, been in National Geographic's as the most diverse school in the world in terms of nationalities. Like it's everything, man. It's the giant melting pot. So I'm there. You got Lacey Boulevard, which since pretty much after the Civil War was predominantly a Black neighborhood. You got Seven Corners, which was mostly a mix of, Latin America and Asia, mostly Vietnam and Thai, Laos folks. Then you had Lake Barcroft, which you can assume by the name Lake Barcroft was predominantly, upper middle class whites. And then you had Colmore, which is right in the middle of all of us, next to, I guess they call it Justice High School now. It was Jeb Stuart High School, which is predominantly, but not, I'd say it's about 99.9% Hispanic. So you had all these little pockets around us. So we never really saw the pains and the issues of racism around us. However, like you alluded to, when I got older, it was there. My first girlfriend at college was Filipino. And the father definitely didn't like the fact that half of me was Black without ever meeting me. So that was, an issue but when I was in high school, you're a suburban kid in high school in Northern Virginia, you're going to date a white girl. I think it's in the decree. I think it's like, it's in the Bill of Rights. Sure. It's in the Constitution of the state, I think. So that didn't go over well. And when I went from Stewart to Lake Braddock, and once again, another lake. So it was definitely, that was a really funny one too, because really for the life of me, I can't remember more than 3 Black men who were in my graduating class. Wow. So when I went there my junior year, and my dad, of course, once again, escorted me through the school. And it's a huge school. If you don't know Lake Braddock in Burke, Virginia, there's like 700 kids. It's a 7 through 12. It's a secondary school. And, I'm walking in wearing my best outfit or whatever, and walking in with my dad, and boom, I can feel new Black kid here, and I had one kid ask me if I sold drugs. I had one kid ask me, rumor has it that you've seen a dead body. I'm like, y'all stop watching Boys in the Hood. Like I was the exotic new Black guy, because all the other Black guys have been around for a while. So I'm the new Black guy. So like I got treated as such, I was upheld, in some kind of weird regard, like, look, we have one. But like, yeah, it's college, jokers, from their dorm, I can see them screaming the N-word at me, while I'm walking away to my car. At that time at George Mason, there was some racial strife all around, but I had good friends, good core people, but yeah, it was always there. It never is not there. It's still there to this day. I've gone to bars and clubs where I'm walking by, and people do a drive-by. They say, they drop the N-bomb on a drive-by and stuff like that. I've had weird looks when I'm on the golf course. So yeah, it's there. That's why when so many other, nationalities, whether it's due to COVID and what Trump's calling it the China flu, or back during 9/11, when folks of Middle Eastern heritage were being, kind of ostracized, and they're like, how can you do this to me? This is America. And I'm like, yeah, welcome. This happened to my dad for years. It's happened to my folks for years, my people for years. So for you to sit there because of this horrible situation and suddenly be like, wow, America is turning their backs on us. They're not cool with us anymore. I'm like, America's never been cool for Black people. So, welcome to the party. You've been first time. First time. Yeah, you've been sitting here, kind of chilling and having a good time, absorbing all the greatness that, America can give you. But when things get tough and people turn on you, don't sit there and say, oh, woe is me. Hey, read a history book. Well, don't read a history book. They erase most of it. Find a documentary or something, so it's tough out there. So yeah, no, definitely felt it, being the Black guy. So I got all the Black stuff and really never got a whole lot of the Filipino racism thrown toward me, but definitely enough Black to take care of the other half of me.
Wow. So talk to me a little. I'm sorry. Did you have one, Katina?
No, I was just going to say, talk to us now. Like, what you talked briefly about college. What kinds of things did you get into in college, and what were some of your projects after college? Like, I want to know now. Like, now we know where you come from. Now I want to know where you went with it.
But before we get there, I wanted to put a stamp before we get to that point. I wanted to. Before we lead to college, I was going to precede into college. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
pause, and then you can.
So Tina's question in just a second, because I kind of want to know what led to college, because, especially with Filipinos, like, although you weren't like a Filipino yet in a way, we're generally geared, but when we choose college, the kind of career path. So, you know, they want us to go into like medical or lawyer because, you know, either nursing or being a lawyer, the highest paying jobs, you know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, so to follow up with Tina's question, you know, what led you in your path and what choosing your college and your degree or whatever. But before we get to that point, what were you into in high school? So I would assume, because we've talked about it several times, and not just because you're Black, basketball was, you know, one of your passions. But tell us about a young teen Michael McNutt. What were you into, and what eventually led to you, you know, choosing your path, and then choosing GMU and as your college.
Young Michael McNutt was awkward as. All right, so like I was awkward as fuck. All right, I was awkward. I mean, I just looked at I found all my 4 years of basketball photos and I showed my kids them, and like you can just see the awkwardness. It just was so awkward. Like like it was just it was all identity mixed with, you know, puberty and still just not knowing who you are as a human being, much less, hey, I'm biracial. You know, like it was all over, all sorts of, and I'm sure a lot of interracial kids kind of run through these identity issues coupled with so many other bullshit that's going on that they have to deal with. And luckily, you know, like I said, I was able to kind of unintentionally mask that identity, that issue that I had, because I was like, Black kid, I like playing basketball, playing with my homeboys, I like rap, I like hip hop, I like pop music, I love all these things. So, you know, growing up, I loved art, you know, which led to, you know, not directly, but it kind of made sense with, you know, All-Star Con and NovaCon and stuff like that. But pop culture, loved pop culture, would watch movies all the time and, you know, memorized lines, memorized like certain things, and loved ensembles because I had such a great group of friends. I was always like, if we're not the Goonies, we're this, that, and the other. We're just a group of kids trying to solve a caper, you know, something stupid. It wasn't really real, but yeah, I loved that. I loved sports. I loved being outside. I was the kind of kid, and back then we were those kids. All of us were those kids that got up at 8 a.m. and didn't come home until 8, 9 at night. Like that's just who we were, you know. I wish that upon my kids, but it doesn't happen nowadays. But you know, I wish they had that life that I had, you know, because I think me, you know, Tito age, we're the last of that generation who are going to have that experience. I see kids nowadays in the neighborhood doing their thing, and that's cool and all, but yeah, we're the last, like that Generation X generation. We're the last ones that went outside, and parents, because they were working, didn't give a fuck. As long as your ass got home when that light came on.
Yeah, street light.
As long as that street light, and my dad didn't have to come out and yell, Michael. And I'm like, shit. But if I got home before that, then I'll see you outside again tomorrow. You know, and in terms of college, what I got into, you know, obviously I love to communicate. You know, I have a gift for gab. I wanted to be a journalist. And I actually did some sports reporting for a bit. I wanted to get into PR. I think one of the first things, I think my sophomore year, I gave a quick speech about our basketball coach, and everyone's like, you should be a politician, or you should be getting into public speaking, as if that's a real job. I don't know I'm a public speaker. I don't know what that is. But, you know, that kind of moved me to, you know, when I graduated out of Mason, with a degree in communications, I actually came back and I taught for 2 years public speaking at George Mason, along with
professional public speaking right there.
I guess I found a way. I found it. And you know, and then that kind of got me into, while I was at George Mason, I helped put together the World Cup when that section of the World Cup was here in DC, and that kind of got me fixated on events and putting together an event. And it's not just, you know, I got this space, I'm putting an event together. There was so much involved in it. And I kind of got like really clued in. And once, you know, I got out of the you know, teaching, and I jumped into event planning, meeting directing, putting together an event, understanding the inner workings of an event, which now I've been doing now since 98, you know? So, I mean, I'm pretty old when it comes to a veteran meeting planner. So that's you know, it kind of combines everything: the ability to talk, the ability to review and kind of dictate and determine a contract, figuring out budgeting, and then overall executing it. So, you know.
Dope. Yeah, so that'll eventually lead us to the conventions and everything. So
going back I segued for you.
You man. Did. You segued.
I need like an assistant producer credit on this.
Hey, there he goes. So yeah, I would assume then, because different experience with some of like our other guests, and you kind of just followed your own, I guess so your parents were cool with what you wanted to do, because like some of us who want to get into the arts, don't go into the arts because it's not paying. I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So your parents were very supportive of your decisions. And
they were always down for whatever. Like they didn't, I don't think there was ever one we never had, which is odd because my oldest is 12 and we have these conversations all the time. But once again, my dad was working 2 jobs. My mom was doing all sorts of, like, there wasn't a time like, hey, what are you going to do for them? They just knew like, hey, you got to do something. You do something, so yeah, it was never pushed in one direction. Regarding George Mason, I had other offers from other schools, or not offers, but I got accepted, but George Mason gave me a scholarship. So I'm going where the money isn't, You
didn't want to escape from home? At all? So you wanted to be in your home?
Part of me wanted to, but part of me, I know for a fact I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for something like that. And you know what? I never had that desire. I was happy where I was. Like, I've lived in Northern Virginia all my life. Why would I want to leave it? It was crazy because I was interning at a radio station at one point, and I was talking to one of the reporters, and he was like, everybody in the world wants to come here. Wants to come to DC. Like, if you're in news, you want to come here. If you want to go into reporting, you come here. If you want to do a whole lot of different things, you come here. So why would you want to go somewhere? Like, why would you want to go to the University of Iowa or James Madison or whatever, when those people, their entire lives, they want to come where you are? And I actually talked to a young girl who's actually, half Filipino too. She was a DJ at my youngest party once. And she was asking, she was like, I have an offer to go to American University for broadcasting or Boston University for broadcasting. Both of them very great communication schools. And I said, I said American. She was like, oh, I want to go to Boston. I was like, you can go to Boston all you want, but where do you want to be? She was like, I want to be a reporter. It's like, well, okay, you can be working for the local ABC affiliate in Boston, or you can go intern at ABC News. Like, which one what do you want to do? Literally, ABC News is right there in DC. Not too far from American University. And she went to American University, and I see her on, doing reports and stuff for American University. Now she's moving on, but you're in the Mecca, you're in the place. So like, that's part of my thinking. I was like, I wanted to get into PR. I wanted to hopefully work for a sports team, like in their marketing firm. So like, you got the Washington football team now, you have the Wizards, you have the Caps, you have now I thought I had a ton of different opportunities in front of me. And I did. I got to do a lot of crazy things while I was here, mixed around and falling into, event planning.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Now, if you're in Iowa, get out. Nothing against Iowa.
ShoPowSho PSA. Get out.
You're like in the middle, because you hear it from kids from these small towns. They want to get the hell out. Like, I'm in the opposite of a small town. Outside of New York and Chicago and LA, I'm in a huge metropolitan area where your opportunities are vast. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So any lessons you learned before we get to some of the good stuff that are where you kind of followed some of the things you wanted to do in a way? What were some of the lessons learned? Like you're hosting a podcast for a bit here and there, and you were working on radio. What were some stories that kind of created or you learned from that improved you afterward and moving forward?
Lessons learned is one of the things where it's weird, because my dad used to always say, if you have trouble with something, get help. If you have trouble again, get help. Trouble the third time, God don't want you to learn it. So move on. So stick and move. That's kind of like the way I kind of see things. Like, do your best to figure it out. Last one, maybe it's not for you. So find something else. There's so many opportunities out there. When I was doing the podcasting and the radio stuff, it was really do your best to delegate. and spread it out, spread the responsibilities. When I was doing the podcast, I was the host, I was the content creator, I was handling the recording, I was handling the editing, and I was handling the marketing. And, and we'll probably get into it when we talk about All-Star Con, when you really invest in something so much where it's no longer fun, get out of it. If you have the opportunity to do stuff that you love and it's fun and it's bringing happiness and joy to yourself and perhaps others, and the minute that's not the case, get out. Okay? Because you don't need that kind of trouble, especially for a hobby and something that you love to do. If it's something that you love to do, it's going to be tough. And there's a journey and there's a voyage and it's going to be hard. Understood. But the minute that dream is like kind of blurred and it's no longer fun, reassess. And that's really one of the things that I've taken with me, forever. If it's no longer fun, reassess. Make it fun or get the hell out.
Real talk, bro. Real talk. I feel that.
Yeah.
That's most definitely. Man. So let's talk about then linking up with a guy by the name of Kevin Bednarz. Yeah. How did y'all meet? How did that come across? Were you doing, was it the HaterNation stuff at the time? Is that how y'all linked up?
Yep. Randomly, my co-host and best bud Yama, was living in Ashburn at the time and said, "Hey man, I got some really crazy characters who, this guy owns a bar. He's an artist. He's a producer. He does all sorts of crazy things. Like, have him on the show." So we had him on the show, started kicking it with him. He loved our vibe. We loved his vibe. We're very kindred spirits. We're spitting out pop culture references back and forth and having a great time. And next thing you know, we get like kind of fully involved with him, and we're like judges at his chili cook-off, and we're doing live shows in his restaurant. And, he ended up owning part owning a comic book shop, Comic Logic. Go check them out, comiclogicva.com. Go check out my boys. What did I do? Oh, I'm back.
You're back. I thought that was Comic Logic. I was like, wow.
This man was ready to throw the logo up. I'll do that in the edit, though. I'll throw the logo right there.
Hit him up. Rob Kalin, another Pinoy. Hit him up. Talk about small businesses. That's another guy you should talk about, Pat. But we started doing shows there and, hosting all sorts of different things. The guy next door who owns Doggone Natural was Kevin's friend. He started producing our show because he used to work for a Fox Sports affiliate years ago. So it just started, Kevin would walk in, we'd walk around. We just became friends where, now we're just constantly talking to each other. And him along with, he came along, another individual, came up with the ideas. Hey, I'm putting together, he was a friend of mine too. I'll admit he was a friend. Said, "Hey, I'm putting together a Comic-Con in the Northern Virginia area. You want to be involved in it?" Like, "I'm down." Oh my God. He's like, "What do you want me to do?" He's like, "I want you to host it. I want you to be on stage. I want you just to host 3 straight days, keep people moving, keep people going, have a great time, do what you do, and just go with it." I'm like, "All right, I'm down.
Would you say that was public speaking?
That was public speaking. Geez. I guess I carved out something with public speaking. So that's where NovaCon came. And I went from being just the host to, they realized like, "Hey, wait a minute. Don't you do meeting planning?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Can you look this contract over?" I'm like, "Okay." I feel kind of hurt that you didn't ask me before. But yeah, let me look over. Look over the contract. Like, "Yeah, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this." "Oh, great. And then like it became more of like, I'm kind of helping them on the leadership team now because I knew the information, I knew what the hotel needed and stuff. So we broke everything down. So in learning that and putting together a fantastic event, which I feel like I was definitely an integral part along with Kevin of putting this event together, things went sideways regarding the relationship at NovaCon. So Kevin and I decided to break out and go do our own thing, and All-Star Comic-Con was born.
Yeah. Before we dig into All-Star, so I is that how we met? Because I've been trying to go back and forth because you and I shared this same friend, but when he came to my table asking me to become a, with you guys, and actually I don't know if you guys were in it yet, because again I can't recall because I'm getting old, not as old as you, Tito, but I kind of figured him out from the jump because of other relationships and other things that he was doing. So I wasn't sure if that was when you and I met or not. So
I think it was at the start of All-Star.
Okay.
Everything with Nova was so fuzzy in terms of people reaching out, because my information really wasn't out there for people to contact and reach out to me. Like they would reach out to me randomly, like, "Hey, are you doing this?" Like, instead of us being the founders of All Star. So I think it was like in that mix between when Nova really got a lot of momentum, when it finished up, like even like, stuff like Shady Hayes, Hazel, Filipina, like Panay, get her too. But like those people started hitting us up at the end of NovaCon, like, wow, I can't wait to be a part of season 2 or next year. And we're like, cool. And then, kind of the wheels fell off that, but those people were still around. And I think that's how we linked up.
Like, I think we definitely got in closer, because when All Star was going to be the next show and it transitioned in the name change, like, I think when I was talking to you, because I wanted to, and actually I was supposed to, I was one of the first in the first lineup of guests. I eventually wasn't able to make All Star the first one because of, I think I got sick at the time. But, we had a whole buildup. You and I were doing interviews and talking back and forth. But one of my apprehensions, if I was going to be a part of it, was, and then I think, it's all coming together now, was if that so-called individual is still going to be involved, that I don't know if I want to rock it again, because that's why I wasn't involved with the first one with Nova. And exactly. Anyway,
and really the
little spicy conversation there for those that don't know, and a lot of y'all are probably like, but if you don't want to talk to me and Michael offhand, because I don't want to give that man coverage by saying his name, but we can fill you in.
And really the moral to all that is, you can have a dream, but if you don't put any work into it, it's just an idea. You got to put work into it. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll add real quick. It's sometimes all skin folk and kinfolk, and it be your own people sometimes, and that is kind of who we're talking about in a way without saying anything. So and that's our combined Filipino mutual connection with me, Mike, and this gentleman. But once you figure somebody out, you get a feeling, a vibe. If you have a vibe about somebody, don't rock with it. Say, keep it moving. Other things will prosper. Thankfully, me and Mike found a kinship, and we kept it moving. But So anyway, away from the spicy.
Move on.
What made you get into like the con scene? Have you always been like really nerdy and interested in like nerd pop culture stuff?
I guess you know what, you kind of look back at one point, I'm like, nah, I wasn't really down with that. But then you look back, you're like, yeah, I was pretty deep into it. I wasn't so deep. Like I knew what level of deep I wasn't in when I went to a comic book shop. And it was like the first time in a while, because I was getting my sons into it, and like I wanted to get them some books. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And what are you interested in? I was like, I'm interested in some Avengers stuff. I always loved the Avenger. And he's like, well, do you like Bendis, or do you like, he was getting into like the writers, and I'm like, oh shit, like it's that deep now. I was like, I don't know, man. I just sat there, like,
what are you talking about?
I'm at a point, but I'm not there. I'm not, you could give me 5 books and say, tell me which one was written by blah. And I'm like, or I'm gonna shoot you. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna have to dodge a bullet, because I'm not going to tell you which one of these. Like, I couldn't tell artists, I couldn't tell you writers, I couldn't tell you any. I just knew I loved the story, I love the art, and I want that book. Like I had collections. G.I. Joe, Transformers, Star Wars. I was all deep into that stuff. Kind of once, let's just say you beat girls. That stuff kind of like fades away a little bit, fades away, music and, basketball and stuff like that. But it was always a part of me. I mean, I used to remember I would draw page by page, remember those little long Garfield books they used to have? The Garfield different volumes. I had every single one, and I would recreate the drawings. I would just freehand and draw them. And like, I used to have this really nice snake eyes I drew. And I just remembered and it had been like 20 something years since I drew anything. And once again, and I told Kevin this, and he got all like sappy. He was like, oh, shush. But thanks to Kevin, because with his Inktober, which he does like every October, artists do drawings. He said, you should get back into it. So I got into it a couple of years ago, and my kids actually saw it. They're like, wow, Daddy, you can draw? I'm like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. And then I got him into it. And if anything, there's a takeaway from this. I don't want anyone following me on social media. I don't care about that stuff. Follow my oldest, my son, on Instagram @the Nutling, the NUTTLING. the Nutlink. He does fantastic art. My youngest does Lego stop motion. So like, they're like, there's a line in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot that Ben Affleck says. He's like, and I'll paraphrase. It's like, when you have kids, you are no longer the star of the show.
Aww.
You know, it's not about you. Like, you know, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, it's like, I ain't posting shit about me. Like, I'll show you my youngest playing basketball, who's just a phenom. I'll show my oldest who's drawing stuff that just blows my mind away. Like, I'll show that stuff because I'm simply the producer now. I'm no longer the star. And it's really about them.
That's so cute. I love
it's
that.
Really, if I could do anything to help them and push them to do that stuff, like what did Papa Jack say on This Is Us last week? It was like, I'm gonna make my kids, like, I'm gonna make them know that their dad believes they can do anything in the world. Like, that's
Bruh.
yes, I watch This Is Us. All right.
Hey man, there's no judgment for watching a good show.
Dude.
I think that's really interesting that you kind of hesitate to say, yeah, I like these nerdy things, even though you did, just because, I mean, it's an unfortunate kind of circumstance that since nerd community, pop culture stuff is kind of taken off, that there's a lot of gatekeeping and there's a lot of, if you're not this level, then you might as well just not like this thing. And that's really sad, especially for people who grew up with it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Like, I grew up, I remembered, like, my first comic book I ever had was, you know, Superman versus Muhammad Ali. And like, Muhammad Ali was a hero of mine. Like, to this day, I'm still looking for an affordable copy, version of that book somewhere. But like, that was my first thing. Like, I would sit there and read. I had record books. For you young folks out there who don't know, look them up. Record books that actually were comic books, and you would actually follow along with the record. And, you know, so like art, comics, you know, pop culture, cartoons. You know, as a kid of the 70s and 80s, Saturday morning cartoons, that was the greatest time of your life, was Saturday. That was the one day of the week I didn't go outside immediately. I didn't go out until 12 o'clock when Smurfs or Kid Video or Saved by the Bell were off. And they're like, okay, now I'm going to go outside because I got everything I needed right now out of Smurfs and, you know, Super Friends and Shirt Tails and all that stuff. Like, I got my fix, gone. I'm outside now. You won't see me again. But yeah, that I feel bad. I feel bad because there's like, nowadays it seems kind of cool. Like, everyone, there's not that much gatekeeping, even though I do see some people, and you know, you might know from the cosplay side, like, if you're not making your shit by hand or, you know, with holes in your fingers and calluses, you're not real. It's like,
you didn't bleed for your cosplay. Like,
exactly. Like just go into it. And that's the great thing about the cons. Got my kids involved. My kid last year, my oldest made a Predator mask out of scratch. And it was awesome. And he won contests, you know. I'm like, my youngest puts on the Ghostbuster gear. He made a proton pack, you know. So that's where the geek culture understand, like, it's passed on. And it's really the young ones now understanding and seeing all these things. It's not just Marvel movies and DC movies. It's just that put that whole culture together and making it so open and acceptable for people. It's really cool because now, like, makes me want to have another All-Star Con just because these kids are now involved in stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't involved 2 years ago. Now they're like making stuff and drawing stuff. And I'm like, man, I wish I had a con to put all these things together, you know, like.
You never know.
2020.
Yeah.
I do feel that, though. One of my first comics that I ever owned was, I was really big into Archie growing up, and I had the Archie comic where the Punisher shows up out of nowhere.
Man, that's some dark
it's really
shit.
funny. He's so violent, and Archie's so not violent, and so they really had to tone a lot down. But even like the art style of him is completely different from the other characters, and that was like my first Marvel comic was this Archie comic. Yeah, so I definitely feel that. But then, you know, there would be, you know, especially as women in the nerd scene, you know, there's a lot of gatekeeping with the I've definitely had actually a good friend of ours, one of the first times that we were hanging out with him, and he's a great guy, but it's just the culture, you know, it's just the way that they're kind of conditioned, was like, do you even know anything about the Punisher? Like, have you read any Punisher comics?
Stuff. People will say some crazy shit. People will, like, I remember, did y'all remember that show Lego Masters from last season?
Yeah.
So my kids, of course, my youngest loved Lego. So they were actually in competition. And the one guy turned to the girl and was like, do you even know Lego? I'm like, that's just some dirty shit. Like, even I know, like, when someone asks you that, like, oh,
About Lego?
On the show. That was like the big drama scene because I guess they were messing something up or they weren't designing it right. He looked over at her like catty and was just like, do you even know Lego? I'm like, dude, we're on a show called Lego Masters. What the fuck you think I do? I know. And I'm like, even my sons were like, ooh. Like they know like nowadays that's a low blow. Like, oh man, he asked her that? That's rough. You know, like, so people just need to like let it go. Now, there are issues regarding people being a little too sensitive about things. That's all right. I understand that. But just let people like what they like. Who cares? Let them like what they like, man. If 2020 has taught you anything, is that we're not on this rock for too long. You know, like what you like. Love it, embrace it. Like I said, just love it and go with it. Go forward with it. If you can make money, great. If you can't, just enjoy the goddamn thing.
So maybe kind of talking a little bit about, or starting to talk about the con a little bit. You know, you are not a white man. And so, and I mean,
last I checked.
You know, that's great. It's crazy. But a lot of the, you know, I would say the people who are involved in geek world, convention, nerd scene, it tends to be a lot of white men. And there just tends to be kind of a lack of diversity. I wouldn't even say necessarily all the time on purpose, just it's not in their scope of interest. Do you think that kind of with your background, becoming a con runner, that was something that you were more in tune to?
I don't know if I was more in tune to it as much as I just loved doing it. And I came from a different perspective also. Like, I mean, my level compared to like Kevin and like Pat and everyone, like I'm a low level guy in terms of my knowledge of nerddom and pop culture. I came mostly when I was first introduced to it through NovaCon, I came in mostly as an event planner and a public speaker. Like that was my gimmick. It just so happened that the guests that we had worked toward my love of 80s pop culture when we had, you know, the gentleman from Greatest American Hero and John Wesley Shipp from The Flash, you know, and even the folks from Stranger Things, which had kind of an homage to 80s, you know, ensemble kids shows and movies that I loved. Then I started dipping a little deeper into it. You know, then I started going further in and looking at, oh, I had that comic, or what's this story? Like, oh, I like that. That's interesting. And then like suddenly it just came and rushed back at me like it was almost like not a repressed memory, but it wasn't repressed, but it was just a memory that, oh, I had that once. And then suddenly just kind of rushed back. And I think the idea of having kids too kind of brings that back into play when we're watching an old show and there's like a guy flying a Star Wars toy and I'm like, I had that. And my kids are like, oh, you had that? What happened? I was like, sold it for sports cards. I don't know. And they're like, oh my God, what did you do? And I'm like, you know, I'm like, so one day we went through it and I broke all their hearts. And I was like, yeah, I had all those. I had that and that and that. I had G.I. Joes, I had Transformers, I had all these. And they're just sitting there like, what? They're like, and then my little one was like, when I grow up, I'm not giving Brit any of my toys. He was like adamant. He was like, never. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I actually ended up buying some back. You know, that's the great thing about getting older is you can buy a lot of your childhood. But, you know, I didn't. Yeah, like being, you know, a person of color, it never dawned on me, you know, that I'm putting together an event. You know, like as much as I put together college fairs, conferences, golf tournaments, like so it was once again, it was kind of that blindness that I kind of wash over me, that those identity politics where I'm like, I'm just a meeting planner. Now, if you want to approach me about, you know, being biracial, being a person of color and putting this event together, great, I will, but I'm not going to throw that out and kind of force feed it to people. You know, like there are other folks out there who are putting together fantastically diverse events. Of course, my man Hilton over at BlurredCon, they kill it. You know, like they take care of their business out there. And when we were doing our event, there was some question from people like, oh, why don't you do this and make it more diverse? And I'm like, I'm going to do, and really, when me and Kevin put this event together, we wanted to put together a fun event. That's it. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult to see a future in it is because there were points when it wasn't fun, that you had to answer to so many different people and you had to kind of serve so many gods. You know, you had to serve so many different people. It's like, well, we call it Comic-Con, got to have comic book vendors. All right, well, let's go get the comic book stores. They might not have the budget to go. Well, let's go get the comic book vendors, the independent guys. Well, they're hard to get because they're not in stores. Where are you going to find them? Most of their collections in their basement or in their house or somewhere in storage. Track those folks down. Oh, well, if you have a Comic-Con, you have to have Comic-Con artists and writers. Okay, well, who's a good writer? Well, that's subjective, depending on who you ask. So you'll get 20 different names, and you'll never get the same 20 names. It's insane. Same with the artists. You get the new guys, you get the old guys. You get the, like I wanted, a woman from, years ago. Is that going to really pull attention? So now you're not even thinking of, it would be fun to hear about her. I think she was one of the first people who drew Wonder Woman. It's like, Wonder Woman's about to come out. Back then I was like, it'd be great to have her on. But then you're thinking, like, is she really going to be a draw? Mm-hmm. So then you start thinking, then the fun starts moving away, like, let's get some celebrities because people are demanding, which, we one of our faults is we listen to too many people too many times. Like, you need to have this person. You need to have someone representing this type of genre. It's like, hey, you want to give me $25,000? Knock yourself out. We'll go bring that person over. Like, some guy asked, like, why can't you get Clark Gregg? I'm like, do you know Clark Gregg? Sorry, he's $75 a day. Do you know that? And I got to pay him. I got to pay him up front. Like, do you know William Shatner's 100 G's?
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, I think a lot of folks need to have that, and that's what we tried to do as best as we could. Kevin and I, is peel back a little bit of that and let people know about the inside workings. So when I see other events saying, we don't know how much this guy's going to be charging when he gets here. That's bullshit. You sign a contract. You know how much he's making. You just don't want to announce it because you want people in line, and then you announce it and they're going to be so guilted into staying in line and have to purchase it. You got them. It's like, no, we're going to tell you up front how much this person's asking for. It's like, we won't tell you the details of the contract, but, like, hey, first year All-Star Con, we had Zazie Beetz, locked and loaded. No one had Zazie Beetz. She was still just doing Atlanta. She just finished Deadpool, nothing. Boom, she kills Deadpool. Suddenly she cancels on us. Well, you guys never had Zazie to begin with. It's like, well, I got her autograph on the contract. So that's the closest anyone's going to get to her. So that hit us. So when she left, we were like, well, can we survive with what we got, or do we need to fill in a spot? Once again, it goes away from the fun.
Behind the scenes stuff. Geez.
It's all that behind the scenes stuff. And we wanted to let people know. Like, we wanted to, we had people filming us for a documentary they were doing. Like, we were being honest with people. We were like, this person wants to come. It's like, no. Like, this person wants a free pass. No. I'm not giving people free passes. Like, that whole thing about supporting local businesses, supporting the arts. It's like, we're putting together an event here. Yeah. It's like, we want to support our local friends who are all artists, but we also want to have the commercial vendors. We have to have a certain number of celebrities, but we also have to be smart about their writers. Like, I'm going to bring a friend and my manager. It's like, fuck no. I'm like, no, not doing that. Do we need to have video games? Yeah, I guess. Do we have to have a Star Wars element? Yeah, let's call the droid guys. Are they going to be difficult? Perhaps. Let's call it. Do we need a cosplay contest? Okay, who's going to hold it? Do we need a prize? Who's going to get the prize? Who's going to make the prize? How are we going to do the judging? Like, because if you have 100 cosplayers lined up, that's going to take a long damn time.
Oh, yeah.
So are we going to have that kids section? Yeah. Are we going to have a kids? Yeah. Are we going to have a kids section? Are we going to have an adult section? What are we going to do for the VIP? Are we going to have something Friday night? Are we going to have something Saturday night? Who's going to be our celebrity person? Who's going to show up at the party? Who's going to be willing to do that? Fly them in, fly them out. The special request. I'm going to come in a couple of days early because I want to see DC. That's on you, Jack. That's not on us. You're here for All-Star Con. You're not here to visit DC. That's on your own thing. Last minute, I got to switch flights. Last minute, I got to cancel. And then you're like, this ain't fun.
Yeah.
This ain't fun no more.
Behind the scenes starts coming down. And
yeah. Then you're getting the messages from people. You should have you considered having Chris Evans? Yeah. We considered it for about 4.7 nanoseconds. We considered it. I mean, my wife is asking for, Momoa. Ain't going to happen. She's always asking. God bless her. She's always asking.
I did think it was interesting. You mentioned with you and Kevin kind of trying to be transparent. I did see I think it was the announcement that you guys had on Facebook Live for the not having the, I think the 2020 All-Star. Yeah. Which, you know, I thought was really good that you had that kind of, you know, opportunity to talk to the community and let them kind of respond back to you. You did have some kind of strong things to say about press and cosplayers that I wanted to follow up with.
Please do, because I can't remember, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering if you could clarify it about it a little bit. I thought it was interesting as con runners, especially because the All-Star theme seems to be kind of, you know, you want to do something different. You want to have this community, right? You want to really kind of focus on having something that's worth standing out in. Really, I mean, there's a sea of cons out there. It's a con bubble right now. You know, there's very few that are probably going to be able to make a stand after this 2020 delay. That's just the way it is. And you know, you're trying to make something that would last like that. So I did understand that, but I think particularly Kevin mentioned that, you know, cosplayers having, I think the quote was, having a Batman mask and Instagram followers doesn't make you a cosplayer. And then there was some discussion as to never giving press passes again that I thought was interesting too.
Okay, I can answer. Number one, I won't speak on behalf of Kevin, but I do believe I can figure out where he's coming from. It wasn't so much cosplayers as much as cosplayers who would contact us wanting to be guests. And that's a very delicate but very interesting situation where, you know, they kind of, they sell us, and God bless them, they sell themselves, they feel they have a following. But we had a fantastically strong, diverse group of folks right here in DC that I'm not going to fly anyone out. You know, I don't feel it's best to do that because it sets a very nasty precedent. And I think a lot of the people who contacted us, God bless them, they weren't what they believed they were. You know, sometimes some people need to get reality checks. And I think that's what he was talking about regarding the Batman mask and a following, Batman in an Instagram account. That was like, because it wasn't so much dissing the cosplayers as much as those cosplayers who would contact us, promising us exposure to their people when it's like, you know how much money we're spending on marketing and pushing ourselves out there and always being on video and showing our faces, unlike other con runners who are this mysterious person in the back. It's like, no, if we're gonna take a hit, it's our face, it's us. If we don't care about if you're going to praise us, but if you're going to smack us, know who you're smacking, you know, because we're going to put our faces out there because this is our reputations on the line. Kevin's more so than me. He's a person, he owns restaurants, he's all sorts of stuff. Me, I'm a ham and egger. You know, I can vanish tomorrow. No one's going to know. But, you know, like I think that's where he was. So it was definitely taken out of context. It wasn't a slight toward cosplayers in general, but it was when you put these events together, one of the first emails you get, someone who's a cosplayer who's like, I'm going to come in. I don't know, ... I don't know what we're paying your hotel. Like if we see a value with our local folks and what they can do, great. But I'm not going to fly or bus anyone in and your friend and for 3 nights and give you a stop. You know, the girl Flash about that. I forget her name already. But, you know, I'm not going to argue about random person, you know, who looks hot in a Catwoman outfit. Like, I can find those people here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it was. It was more of the cosplay guests that would come in. And I think we did ourselves a fantastic, pat ourselves on the back, by having people like Shady there who I think when I first met her at the beginning of NovaCon, she was just getting into it. And she was more kind of like the girl on the street reporting and doing stuff. She was like, I'd love to be a part of what you guys are doing. I'm like, that's what touched me. Like, that's like, she came up, she's young, she has energy. She's not sitting there, I got this many followers and this many fans. And she's like,
going to be an episode.
Yeah. I was like, I want her to be a part. And she has a cool crew with her. And she was always down to help us out when we were doing like charity stuff at schools. She'd grab her posse together and they would be there and take pictures with the kids. And the kids were having a crazy time. And I'm like, she's asking for nothing. because she knows we can't give her nothing. It's just me and Kevin. We're not some conglomerate. It's me and Kevin putting our money together. It's like saying put together a show, hoping that it all turns out like we don't lose our pants, So, and the same thing with the press. Like we would get people coming in and they would be very rude. They would be very rude on their emails talking about like, we need them there. It's like, we'll be all right. Like we got DCW 50, they're doing free commercials that are upwards to $25,000. And they would push our commercials out there. Me and Kevin and all the rest of the gang are on TV. They're pushing it out there to people during the CW shows, during the CW verse shows. I'm like, can't ask for anything better than that. Like that's right there. We would work with different podcasters that we knew, whether it was Ming Chen with Unshared Universe or other people. But once again, it was just the lack of professionalism when they would email us and we would say, oh no, thank you. I think we're good. We're full. Because it wouldn't just be, oh, I'm the reporter. Oh, I got to bring my cameraman. Oh, and my editor too. They got to come. So now I'm giving you 3 passes now, for when I was doing a podcast, it'd be me and my phone. That's it. And if I got a pass, he got his own pass. He got his own pass. We separately, I give Ben at Awesome Con one thing, like I had to individually ask for my press pass to Awesome Con. My co-hosts had to do the same. It wasn't, hey, I'm here. I'm bringing 5 guys with me. No. So that's what that was. And I think oftentimes one of the issues with transparency is we do let our emotions take the better of us. And I think a lot of times we do vent. And it's good and bad in the same way. I would never want to hide that, So when we put something together and something hits me and I give a weird look or I kind of give a sly smart ass remark, and believe me, every con runner is saying that. Every con runner is believing it. We're just man enough to actually say it, So it's like, but he said it wrong. He definitely he adjusted it, and I'm sure when he sees this, he's gonna be like, I didn't say it wrong. Shut up. No, he did. He did. It was more of the personal emails that we were getting when we would decline, and then they would come back like, you guys must not understand who the hell I am. I'm like, we understand. We just don't care. We're busy doing something else. We're busy trying to make this fun. And you coming back at us after we've already graciously declined is making it not fun. And that's where it was becoming very frustrating for us.
I understand. That's understandable. Wow.
Yeah. So, that video was a while ago. So for anyone, we apologize. So you were holding on to that for a damn long time.
Oh, I stumbled across it prepping for the interview. I promise I haven't been sitting on this or anything.
Like that.
Dude, we've all been in this convention world for a while, so it's all felt. I've been in this game. I had my first convention in 2003 that I ran with the guy that used to do the fire department conventions in like Tyson's Corner. I did a show called Americon in the Montgomery County Fairgrounds. Didn't make no money, but spent a lot of money, but didn't make no money. But then I had with Comic-Con that happened after Universal Fan Con with my partners at Black Heroes Matter and and that
was great.
Color, and that was beautiful, but so there's ups and downs and and like you said, you perfectly said it well, and you took away a lot of my questions, man. So I appreciate that. No, I don't have to ask you them. But it's a love-hate thing, and it can take away from your love if you have all these, issues and stuff. But well said, bro.
Yeah, and it's one of the things where it takes away the love, but then Kevin has a family. Kevin has a kid. Kevin got 2 businesses. I got a family. We found ourselves spending more time with each other, which we didn't mind. We're good friends, but it put a strain on things. So it's like the second that we announced that we weren't doing it, oh my God, just the weight off your shoulders. We don't even have to think about it. Because now every now and then we think about it and we kind of test the waters and we think and we talk. But then in the end, I'm like, I'd love to do it for my kids. Really that, if there is one that comes back, you guys will know it's because of my sons.
I think that you guys made a really smart call considering what happened this year, right?
Hindsight's a
hindsight for real.
Woo! Yeah, that was I felt bad. I felt bad when all those, all the runners were like, we'll let you know, because I knew what that really meant was they were trying to hit that point where the state would intervene and say, you can't hold the event. then that would allow the force majeure to come into play. And the one thing about 2020 is it's going to teach a lot of con runners and a lot of people who are interested in putting one together is the proper language you need in your contract. I remember, I mean, I've been doing meeting planning so long that I remember when 9/11 happened, terrorist attack was not part of force majeure. So during that time, you were screwed.
Wow.
Yeah, you were screwed. But because the airlines were suspended, that might have given you a little bit of a loophole. But yeah, oftentimes a lot back then, terrorist attack was not involved in force majeure because we never really had one. Yeah, like you would really have to be a really good foreseer to be like, add terrorist attack in there. Like if anyone said that, they'd immediately be blacklisted or red listed or be sent to the FBI. They're like, why'd you add that in the contract, man? You're like, I don't know. Like it'd be hard for them to do that, but that's what happens. So now, as a meeting planner, we've attended more events and more webinars and stuff like what language you need to put to properly, represent what's going on right now, like a pandemic. You can't just put, because how do you determine what a pandemic? No, you have to put specific language in there to protect you. So con runners, be sure, if you don't have a lawyer on you, be sure to find a good, experienced meeting planner to look over your contract, especially during your cancellation and force majeure stuff, because that's the difference between being able to skate and just blow that off or paying $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, that you don't have.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, go ahead and put it in now, just in case.
Put zombie apocalypse, giant tidal wave, even though you're in the middle of the country.
All of that. For sure. Yeah.
Alien takeover. Put it in. Who cares? Put it in because it's going to happen.
Wow.
I love it.
You should be charging them.
Thanos snap. Just put in Thanos snap. Put in anything. Just put in some weird stuff. Doesn't matter because if it happens, you're like, hey, we're covered. 99% of the other hotels will be just recouping from con runners. You'll be sitting there like, hey, let's just chill and let's run away from the alien overlords. See, you'll have another problem on your hands, but you won't have the hotel on your hands, but you'll have destruction on a global scale. So that's your trade-off.
Yeah, silver lining. That's I was going to ask how you thought that cons would have to kind of change after this year, but that's definitely a big thing.
We were thinking, how are they have to change things, like maybe like protocol for going virtual or stuff like that. But then like changing their guest contracts, like that's some like
and the rental agreements.
Yeah, rental agreements. That's bring stuff. That's
and really, you're going to see it's really going to be tough for a while because the biggest thing that really pulls in the mainstreamers, and it's one of the things that put pressure on us, is we had to get just the random folks off the street to come to our event, is bringing in mainstream stars. Now, a mainstream star who is currently working or on the cusp of something big during this kind of window of the pandemic, the last thing they're going to want to do is go to a hotel and shake hands and be standing next to a bunch of people who are randoms. That's just going to be a tough sell for your A, B, and C list people. Like, so folks who, met folks 2 years ago, hold on to those pictures because Henry Cavill, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Gal Gadot, they ain't going to be around.
You're not shaking no hands.
You ain't shaking no hands. You ain't getting near anybody. So, hold on to those pictures. I mean, I just looked at a bunch of my old All-Star Con and Awesome Con pictures. I'm framing them because I ain't never going to see these people again. Like if they're working and if they're not too hard up, they're going to be like, I can't risk the possibility of, how horrible would it be for one of these celebrities to catch something and they're able to trace it at that con? You think cons are going to be bad now. That's why, Kevin and I, if we ever come back, we want to focus on the art. We just want to focus on the art. We want to highlight local artists, regional artists, national artists. We want to bring them in. And art is writing, drawing, whatever. Lego stop motion animation, cosplayers. We want to keep this just a nice event back in the day cons when no one would show up. It was just fans of fans just hanging out, enjoying and celebrating their fandom. Community. That's all it ever was. We didn't want to make this, and we didn't have the resources to make it a big budget celebrity event. We just don't. We can't do that. I got kids to feed.
Yeah. That is wild with seeing kind of that change in, like, I remember going to VA Comic-Con in Richmond, and there was maybe like 3 people in costume, and that's where like you picked up, you know, cheap trades and comic issues that you were missing, and local artists and prints and things like that, and like the good old days.
I mean, it's definitely different
now with like the nerd culture becoming pop culture and the commercialization of, you know, Comic-Con and the big just media heyday that San Diego Comic-Con became, that now when people are like, oh, All-Star Comic-Con, my local Comic-Con, this is going to be, you know, I'm going to see Jason Momoa here. Like, this is going to be this big celebrity filled event. And it's like this weird kind of change in expectations from people when you're Comic-Con.
And that's one of the things, I mean, Kevin and I said really early on when people would ask, we would have these like ask us anythings on Facebook, like ask us, we don't care. Like they would ask stuff about NovaCon and we'd answer, or they'd ask stuff about, you know, different things. And they would like, why can't you have fill in the blank guy? I'm like, listen, this is how it breaks down. We could have fill in the blank guy, or girl, you know, we could have them. However, their asking price is so high. This is what's going to have to happen. Number one, we're going to raise our ticket prices. Number two, our vendor prices are going to go higher. And our vendor prices were pretty low compared to a lot of other shows. Number three, we would package it in a certain way. So even like you wouldn't be able to come off the street and meet Jason Momoa. Like you would have to pre-purchase some kind of wacky package in order to make those numbers work, in order for us to break even, because that's all we're hoping to do at that point. We're not trying to make any money off that. But, you know, that's where it's going to trickle down. Not to sound like Ross Perot, but that's the trickle down of it. Like, so when you're like, well, my ticket was $20 last year. Now it's $30. So you know why? Because I got Jason Momoa in the back room. You know, vendors are like, well, my table was $200 and now it's $350. It's like, you know why? Because I got Jason Momoa in the back room. Now, if I can keep our numbers low and our expectations pretty decent, and we give you a great experience as opposed to 4 seconds with Jason Momoa, I would trade that in any day of the week. I'd rather give you an experience and you walking out with new friends, with new fandoms, you know, with new connections. I'd rather have you do that than you know, taking a picture of Jason. I would love to meet Jason Momoa. I'd like to drink with Jason Momoa. My wife would love to be with Jason Momoa.
Duh.
Yeah, like, but that's just not feasible for us regional smaller cons. You know, like we don't have the financial backing. We just don't, you know, sorry, that's the way it is. But we're not going to do it because it's too much money. We're not doing it because it would be too much money for you. You know, and I think that's what people's never understood. Like, we're looking out for your best interests, you know, because we could just Momoa. Guess what? We got no other guests. That's our budget for guests. So you better really like him, because if there's no one else here, I mean, me and Kevin are the next famous person. People, you know, like we'll be signing. That's it.
Got to sell your autographs $5 a pop,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. Like, hey, we're here too. Like, we'll sign. You know, like, but yeah. So we're always wanting to look out for the people because we are those people.
Yeah,
we literally are. I mean, I go to AwesomeCon. I go to Baltimore Comic Con. We go to VA Comic Con. We go to Shoff. We go to Mr. Shoff shows. We go to all of the shows, you know? So it's like, I take my kids. I want that experience. I want us to walk out. Like, one of the greatest experiences I had with my boys is my little one bought a Darth Maul Lego and he's happy. I mean, he's like 4 or 5. He's just flopping along and a Darth Maul cosplayer shows up and he comes down, he's down on his knees. He's like, and he's like, all my kid did was like, show him the Lego. Cause he was so speechless. He just, and it's a great picture of him. He's just holding it, and then Darth Maul's looking at me. I'm taking a picture. I'm like, that's the experience. That's what I want him to be. Because he ain't remembering us meeting Daniel LaRusso and Ralph Macchio. He don't remember that shit. He's like, we met the Karate Kid. Like, he doesn't understand the level of that. He don't care. But my youngest was following a red-headed poison ivy for the longest time because he really must have had the hots for her.
Getting started early.
Yeah, he was looking for, like, I take him to Air and Scale, like on Halloween time. You know, he's no longer around, but he would dress up as a Jedi and want to pose with every Jedi and every stormtrooper there was. That's the experience. That's what we want him to walk away from with. Like, that's the thing. That's, you know, anytime, whatever event I've ever put together, I want you to walk up to that door with one set of thoughts in your mind. You're going to walk out of there with that thought and 900 other ones out of your mind. That's what putting an event is all about. That's why I do it for 30 years. It doesn't matter whether it's healthcare, casino security, whatever it is. You walk in one way, you walk out with something else.
Dude, love it. Love it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, man. Real talk. Great conversation, my man. I really appreciate it.
And I'm half black and half Filipino. Sorry, I have to bring it back around.
Yes, and I'm gonna bring it there. I have two more. I think we have two more questions before we sign out. But just really appreciate the insight, man. Thank you, Tito, Michael. I know. I almost called him a Tita. You know, my bad, bro. But
did y'all really put that picture in the back on purpose?
What? The Last Supper?
No. The Last Supper?
No. It lives here.
This is
my mom has a wooden one. My mom has a wooden one.
We all had them, bro. We all. If you can't be Filipino without having it, we had.
Did y'all have the big? It's about like 18 by 36 of the Virgin Mary, with lights in the back, and when you would turn, it like her eyes would follow you. We had that. End of the hall. We had that.
My mother was really big on Catholic iconology, and she had like Mary statues, Jesus statues, like an altar under. We had a cross-stitched Saint Francis with the animals. Like that was the centerpiece of our living room growing up. It was actually really cute. Like I like it. They took it down recently, and I'm like, oh, thank God. It's so old, but like it was charming. But it was.
They got the fork and spoon back there too, Mike. Behind.
Yeah. Oh no, we had the big wooden ones too. I think it's in my mom's attic. We got them.
You know it, bro.
I use the wooden spoon to beat my son with. That's what I got beat with as a child, and that's what he gets. So
actually, my mom had an old wooden spoon that she would stir food. She did beat me with it. Yes.
Double duty.
Yep. My butt.
Accessible.
All right, Patrick, what'd you have?
So before we do our check question, bringing it back around to the Filipino and coming off of everything you said, man, you were a podcaster, a voice performer, Comic-Con founder, organizer, but your new ER, as we've learned throughout this interview, is now as a father, and all the nuggets of wisdom that you laid out through all this, man. Thank you. Just great stuff. This has been a great interview, man. Really appreciate it. So before we have our nerdier question to our Nerds of Color side of the house, since we are the ShoPowSho, what does Filipino representation, but as well as an African-American, Black representation, and especially throughout this year, it's been insane in regards to racism that has, kind of compiled along with the election and the quarantine, coronavirus, just how important it is, and which is what kind of drove me to really bring out ShoPowSho. It's something I've had in the gates, got the Ates to do it with me. I was like, what better time? It's just a show I've always wanted to do, to rep for my people, having pride in because of the situation here in America, and just the xenophobia, the racism. I was like, I need to show love to my people, and I'm gonna finally do it now. And I thankfully got the Ates. So what does representation mean to you? You said earlier, when you met your wife and she started teaching, Filipino history to you as well as to your kids, which were just gems that I love throughout this interview, that I that's so beautiful. So going forward as a father, like, why is it so important to you and important for you, the kids, to learn and beyond just the Filipino side, but the Black side as well, because it's so important to know how loved you are when, Black people are the most oppressed people here in the world. Can you speak on that representation before we have our other question?
No, I mean, it's so important. And like I said, like, I can't thank her enough for opening my eyes, or kind of opening that door that had been closed for so long, to be like, it's okay. It's okay to sit there and say, like, hey, I'm Filipino, and be ready for whatever happens with that, because I definitely, there was that feeling of acceptance and fear that they're not going to accept me, because I think a lot of us who are kind of straddling that line, we're interracial, we're biracial, one side's not going to accept us, one side's not. I'm too mixed for Black and too Black for Filipino, but when you have a fantastic community around you that embraces you, that you become just empowered. You really just have this, like, just power about you where, you're not looking at it as not a curse, but you're not looking at it as a hindrance that doesn't allow me into that room or that room. It gives me the power to be in both rooms. And the minute you start thinking of it in a positive light and like what I can do with this, like a friend of mine's wife once joked when they saw my oldest, who was his first birthday, she was like, secret weapon, and she was meaning like he could, he could sneak in and be like, hey, it's that scene from Steve Martin's The Jerk when he's like, when they're talking bad about black people and he's like, I'm black, he's fighting everybody and stuff like that. It's like, that's what, my sons will have the fortunate experience nowadays. Before maybe it was a little weird, but now it's so accepted and just part of the norm. I mean, hell, everyone loves The Rock. Guess what? He's biracial. Like he's mixed. So he's a mixed kid. We had a mixed kid as president of the United States a couple of years ago. So it's like you start seeing that in your normal public view, then you start seeing yourself as one. You start seeing yourself as I belong out there. And that's really important for a young kid who, especially nowadays, you see so much racism flying back and forth. Should I, where should I, how should I? You have all these questions about you. And if you have that community, starting with your family, your parents, and moving all the way up to your cousins and your aunts and your best friends and stuff like that, and you start seeing a lot. It sucks that you have to wait for a moment like this past year to see who your friends are and what kind of community you best have. Because I did a lot of Facebook purging over the past 10 months from people that maybe I didn't know that well, maybe I knew because of the con, but then I started kind of learning a little bit more about them through these past couple of months and was like, you know what, you're not on my side. You're not an ally. So, and I love when people are like, you're going to block me. That means you're living in an echo chamber. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, why would I want to listen to it? Now, if you have a different opinion from mine and we can have a conversation about it, sure. If you think we should turn left and I should turn right, we'll have a conversation about it. But if you're going to sit there and try to educate me on why the Confederate flag is acceptable, no, you're not my friend. Okay? We can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about what's better, Marvel or DC. But we're not going to sit there and talk about how, Middle Eastern people are bad, how Asian people are bad, and they brought the virus over here. No, we're not going to talk about that kind of stuff. There are certain things you can discuss, and there's certain things you cannot discuss. So that's it. So I hope a lot of people are kind of looking at their Facebook friends network and just be like, you know what? I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. But back to representation. Yeah. I mean, it's like my kid right now is preparing a great drawing. If you can't go to my Instagram, he doesn't post as much, but you go to my Instagram, which is The Nut Says, his work in progress is Black Lightning and Blade. And he's putting them together. And it's like, for him, it's just breathing. It's just nothing else. It's just breathing, My youngest loves playing basketball, he's Black and Filipino, of course. But but it's just, they love, just go for the love. Go for the love out there, The money will take care of itself, hopefully. But go for the love, have fun. And yeah, you see something out there that's yours, or you see someone out there that's with you, like reach out to them, because you know what? They're probably wondering where in the world they belong to.
That's beautiful.
Good stuff, bro. Love it. Yo, hit him with our last question, ladies. You know
all
what
right.
it is.
This is a tough one.
So this is our nerd check. Basically, if
I'm gonna fail this.
If you had to give a TED talk on something nerdy, what would you pick? It doesn't have to be the thing up and down and sideways. It's just the thing you like best and you're passionate about.
I did this actually at George Mason. It wasn't a TED talk, but it was one of those persuasive arguments I had to give. Mm-hmm. And my persuasive argument, and the one I will hold myself to till the day I die, is William Shatner, aka James Tiberius Kirk, is the greatest Enterprise captain of all time.
We're right.
And a friend of mine's father used to tell me that man is so wrong on so many levels in terms of being an officer, being a military man in space, and his attitude and decorum was so wrong. But I was like, no. And I would tell him he's wrong, because James Kirk was a Mac. he blew stuff up with barely asking any questions. I kind of like that. He just saw it and said, fire. He cheated. He did a lot of things that you wouldn't expect, but you know what? He always won. He always won. So all those bad things, it all paid off in the end. You know? It all paid off in the end. Like he's a fantastic man. Like I have a wall in my house of jerseys, some signed of some of my favorite players. And they're all athletic jerseys. And I got one frame with a Star Wars captain shirt with William Shatner's signature on it. He's the only non-athlete that's on my wall because he is the ultimate player. And like that was always my argument. I would have friends who were deep Jean-Luc Picard dudes, and we would just go at it. And they would tell me like, they were like, Jean-Luc Picard is what you would expect out of a naval, like if it's, the Navy, you would think a naval officer on a show. I'm like, man, James Kirk would blow shit up and take your girl. That's my dude.
He is the opposite of sometimes you can commit no mistakes and still lose. That's the opposite of Captain Kirk.
Yes. Yes. He would take your girl. And I'm like, I need to roll with that dude. Roll with him. Not rolling with no bald-headed British dude, Shakespeare guy. He's not going to do anything for me. Just roll out, Jimmy.
Legit.
That's my TED Talk.
All right. I love it. 10 out of 10.
That's awesome. Oh,
Yo.
Mike, before you leave,
dope.
Like, I really appreciated this talk. Like, a lot of things that you said resonated with me. Whoop, whoop. I'm also an alumni at George Mason, so
let's go green, go gold, fight.
Right. And it was just really cool hearing you talk about the con runner side of things, being a cosplayer, being involved in running cons, and then even being a cosplay guest at one of your cons. It was just really interesting to hear your side of it, and to think about it, like, to see kind of like the cosplayer's perspective of it, and then to see and know and understand the con rider side of it. So yeah. I like what you spoke on that. And that was really
tough. It's tough. We thought it was going to be fun and great and cool, and it was, but it was also tough as hell.
Yeah. And yeah, I think there's a lot that can be said, and this isn't a cosplay podcast, so I don't want to get too into it, but like with clout chasing and cosplay and online fame getting people's heads. So
and that's really what it was. And that's really what it was.
Yeah,
it was really, and we didn't know, and I'm 40 something years old, so I don't know what clout chasing is. So that's what it was. I couldn't verbalize it, but that's what it was. It was like just people just, and then there was so much drama on the back end of it that I was like, wait a minute, I'm not a principal at a high school. What's going on here? Like,
real talk.
Stop this. Yeah, like stop this nonsense. Like, if y'all ain't going to get along, then y'all both don't have to go. I don't care. I'm going to be there and I'm going to have fun.
Yeah.
So that's really what it was. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. And that's what, if we ever do anything again, or if I do anything again, or Kev, like, we're always going to be open with people. Like, honesty, like, that's what you got to do with this stuff.
Love it. Yo, Mike. And I hope you take this, and understand that this is coming with respect. This interview has been beautiful. So like when I say Tito Mike, man, that wisdom that you put down, I don't mean it to mess you to say, because you're older than me or whatever.
We're giving mono. It's
I'm showing it as a form of respect, brother, because you are older than me. But yo, this has been beautiful.
I'll take it.
I appreciate you, Tito Mike, man. This has been beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on with us, man.
Oh, man. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Y'all be good.
All right. That was Tito Michael McNutt from All-Star Con, although former All-Star Con, and unless it pops up again in the future, we don't know. But I loved, if you read in the bio in the description below, he's been all these -ERs, but his most important job now is being a father. And I think we all saw that from this interview. Ladies, what did you think? There's a lot of gems in that.
Yeah, a lot of good dad advice, for real.
Oh, yeah. I feel fathered.
Yeah, I might have to send him a Father's Day gift.
Right. I think he like I mentioned at the end of the interview, like he brought up some things that really resonated with me. I think he brought up a couple things that we can talk about in future episodes.
Oh yeah.
The most powerful thing that I think he said was that you find that empowerment through representation, and we are this is ShoPowSho. We are all about representation matters, and it matters because it empowers you. And when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, shivers, like, God, yes, that's good stuff. And then I think it was really cool how he mentioned kind of like the secret weapon that is his son, that, you know, I'm assuming, I haven't seen his son, is Filipino passing, but he's also part Black. And that if he's ever in a position where people are disparaging, you know, Black people, then he can pop in and be like, well, actually, I'm Black and this is where you're wrong. And that's kind of like, I don't want to call it like the responsibility, but like an opportunity that mixed kids and white passing members of any kind of culture have the opportunity to educate others. There was this really cool clip, which maybe we can link in this episode, that I saw on like Tumblr years ago. And it was about a Black woman whose sister was white passing.
I remember that one.
And helped her out in the grocery store because the clerk saw her as a white woman. And like, you know, I don't want to say like responsibility, like with white passing people and bringing up the whole white savior thing, but like just
privilege. If you have privilege
right.
as someone who is passing of a certain race that perhaps experiences less oppression, or in the case of like white passing, maybe no oppression, and you are a witness to this kind of you know, disparity, that, you know, it really is an opportunity for you to make a difference, even if the difference is just to show other people that, hey, I got your back. Like, even if it's not going to really affect anything in the long run, that person will know that people have their back and that they have more allies than necessarily that were out and clearly shown. So yeah, I agree.
And then what's the saying about like, you know, like penguins on a ledge, like once one goes in, they all go in. Like once one person stands up, other people will too. So yeah, thank you, Kat, because like, again, the opportunity to do better with that. So I feel like that could be an episode, and I feel like we can talk more about that. And it's interesting to see where that can pop up more. So yeah, thank you, Tito Mike.
Yes, it was so good, so good. A lot of good insight there. And our first half African American, half Filipino guests. Just so many gems. Tito Michael, man, you brought it, bro. Good stuff. So let's throw out the handles so they can keep us on, so you guys can tell us what you thought about the episode and let us know how you felt about the conversation, your stories. We'd love to hear your stories. But before we get to that point, actually, before I forget, if you like us to be able to do the show and help us continue to do the show, to support us in various means, because we do have some monthly fees that we pay, and then we also want to do other things in the future. Ladies, why don't you tell them how they could support us?
We have a Patreon, ShoPowSho, with 2 tiers that you can follow and join the Cinegang Gang or
gang,
the Hello Homies.
Hello.
So check us out there.
We post extra content there, little snippets, slice of life stuff. So there's some perks there. You can also just support us. Like, hey, if some of this dad advice resonated with you and you want to show some love, donate to our coffee. That goes towards helping running our podcast and helping us continue to explore and share our culture.
Love it. Thank you, ladies. Yes, please support us. We'd really appreciate it. And through those two, with on the Patreon, I think we have a tier that will give you shout out on the show. So I'm ready to do some shout outs. You know, I love to get crazy. So yeah, let's do that. Come on, show your support, and we'll show love on the podcast as we go along. So if you want to hit us up online, let us know in the comments below in the description. And right now, we'll tell you how you can track us on Instagram, Twitter, all that. Ladies, Cataphoric, hit them off with how they can follow you.
All right. Well, you can follow ShoPowSho on TikTok and catch some of our highlights and clips and previews for things coming up. But you can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Cataphoric.
And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina, and on Twitter and chess.com at vivavalentinaxo.
Yes, especially the chess stuff, because we're looking at you, Xavi de Guzman, with your glorious hair. We ready for you, son. We ain't forget about you, bro. We coming at you, my girl.
The chess bully, the chess villain.
The chess villain. She's ready for you. So yeah, if you want to battle my girl, battle in chess, we're ready. You know, we're gonna keep on gassing her because she's the bomb. You ready? So I am Kuya P. Much love. You can follow me at Temple Far East and at Strange Since 1977. That's the Twitter and IG. At the NRW and at New Release Wednesday. That's my full pop culture sphere show. And for your POC specific stuff here at the Nerds of Color, and that's on everything. And ShoPowSho. You know, we have our TikTok, we have a Twitter, we have a Instagram. We're all over the place. And if you want to if you can't get YouTube at work, I know some people can't, you know, bring up YouTube, especially if you work for the government. We have a audio podcast. You can subscribe to our audio podcast at iTunes and Spotify, and it's through Reddit, I think, as well, and it streams everywhere. So you can look up ShoPowSho and you can listen to the audio version in your office. I've tested it and I know other people that have, so do that if you can't check out the YouTube. So check us out there. We appreciate y'all as always. We're always about our people. We're always about that love. If there's anything you want to see, hit us up. We're ready for it. But we love y'all. Mahakita and salamat.